The stars burned cold and silent as the human vessel Starfall drifted through the darkness of the Velen sector. Captain Day stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the navigation screen. Something felt wrong. The sector was too quiet. No signals. No movement. Nothing but the endless black. "Captain," said Lieutenant Yuna from her station, "I am picking up strange readings. They appear and disappear. I cannot explain it." Day walked to her side and looked at the screen. The readings were there for a moment, then gone. "Like ghosts in the void? Could be sensor problems," said Minho, the ship's engineer. He was a thin man with tired eyes who spent more time with machines than with people. "The Starfall is old. She has many problems." Day knew better. He had been a captain for 15 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He knew what silence meant. Silence meant someone was hiding. "All crew to battle stations," he said quietly. "Do it now. Do it fast." The alarm never had time to sound. The first blast hit them from below. The Starfall shook like a toy in the hand of an angry child. Lights flickered. Screens went dark. Then came the second blast, and the third, and the fourth. The ship screamed as metal bent and broke. Day grabbed the edge of his chair to keep from falling. Through the viewport, he saw them finally. Keth warships. 5 of them. They had been invisible, hiding in the shadow of a dead moon. Now, they surrounded the Starfall like wolves around a wounded deer. "Shields are gone," Yuna reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. "Weapons are offline. Engines are dead." Minho looked at Day with fear in his eyes. "Captain, what do we do?" Day looked at his crew. 12 people. 12 lives. They trusted him. They followed him into the darkness of space because they believed he would bring them home. He could fight. He could order them to grab weapons and make a last stand. They would die, but they would die fighting. That was the human way. But dying was easy. Living was hard. And sometimes, living meant swallowing your pride. "Stand down," Day said. "All of you. Put your weapons on the floor," Captain Yuna started. "That is an order, Lieutenant." The Keth boarded them minutes later. They were tall creatures, almost 3 meters high. Their skin was pale blue, smooth like stone. They had 4 arms and eyes that glowed with cold yellow light. They did not speak. They did not need to. Their weapons spoke for them. The humans were bound with energy chains and forced to their knees. Day watched as his crew was pushed and pulled like animals. He saw young Jisoo, the medic, crying silently. He saw old Taiyang, the weapons officer, staring at the floor with shame. He saw Minho trying to stay calm, counting his breaths like the doctor had taught him, and he saw Yuna. She was not crying. She was not afraid. She was watching, learning, waiting, good Day thought. She understood. A Keth officer approached Day. This one was different from the soldiers. Its armor was decorated with symbols that Day did not recognize. It spoke in a voice that sounded like wind passing through broken glass. "You are the leader. I am Captain Day of the Earth Coalition vessel Starfall. You will come with us. The Empress wishes to speak with you." Day felt his heart go cold. The Empress? He had heard stories about her. Every human had. She was called Velith, and she had ruled the Keth Empire for 4,000 years. She had conquered 3,000 star systems. She had destroyed civilizations that were ancient when humanity was still learning to make fire, and now she wanted to speak with him. "What about my crew?" Day asked. "They will be kept alive. For now. Their fate depends on you." Day nodded slowly. He looked at his people one last time. Yuna met his eyes. She gave him a small nod. She would take care of them. She would keep them together. "I will come," Day said. They took him to a shuttle and flew him to the largest Keth ship. It was massive, bigger than any human station. Inside, everything was cold and clean. The walls were smooth. The lights were dim. There was no decoration, no color, no life. Just perfect, empty order. Day was led through endless corridors until they reached a great chamber. The ceiling was so high that he could not see the top. The floor was made of black glass that reflected his image like dark water, and there, on a throne of pale crystal, sat Empress Vlith. She was beautiful in a terrible way. Her face was smooth and perfect, without age or flaw. Her eyes were deep purple, and they looked at Day like he was an insect under glass. She wore robes of silver and white, and on her head was a crown that seemed to be made of frozen starlight. "Come closer, human," she said. Her voice was soft, but it filled the entire chamber. Day walked forward. His chains made soft sounds with each step. He stopped 10 meters from the throne and waited. Velith studied him for a long moment. Her eyes moved over his face, his body, his uniform. She was reading him like a book. "You are Captain Day," she said. "You have served in the human military for 15 years. You have fought in 7 major battles. You have been wounded 3 times. You have saved your crew from death on 4 separate occasions." "You know a lot about me," Day said. "I know everything about you. I know about all humans. Your kind has been interesting to observe. Interesting?" Velith leaned forward slightly. For the first time, something like curiosity appeared in her ancient eyes. "Your species is weak. Your bodies are fragile. Your lives are short. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. By every measure of strength and power, you should have been conquered or destroyed long ago." She paused. "And yet you survive. You fight. You win battles that you should lose. Your colonies grow where they should fail. Your people spread across the stars like a fire that cannot be stopped." Day said nothing. "I have conquered thousands of species," Velith continued. "I have studied them all. I understand them all. But I do not understand you. I do not understand humanity." She stood from her throne and walked down the steps toward him. Even standing, she was taller than him by half a meter. She looked down at him with those purple eyes. "So I ask you, Captain Day, I ask you simply and directly, what is the secret of your kind? How do humans keep surviving when all logic says you should die?" Day met her gaze. He thought of his crew. He thought of Yuna and Minho and all the others. He thought of Earth, of his home, of the people waiting for him to return, and he said nothing. Velith waited. The silence stretched between them like a wire pulled tight. Finally, she smiled. It was a cold smile, without warmth or kindness. "I see. You wish to be difficult." She turned and walked back to her throne. "That is acceptable. I have time. I have nothing but time." She sat down and looked at him once more. "Take him to his cell. We will speak again tomorrow, and the day after, and every day after that, until he tells me what I wish to know." The guards took Day away. As they led him through the corridors, he thought about her question. The secret of humanity. The reason they survived, he knew the answer. He had always known it, but he also knew that she would never understand. Not until she learned to ask the right question. The days passed slowly in the Keth prison. Day was kept in a small cell, with walls that glowed with soft blue light. There was a bed, a table, and nothing else. No windows. No sounds from outside. Just silence and the endless glow. Every morning, the guards came for him. They took him to a room where Empress Velith waited, and every morning she asked him questions. She did not torture him. She did not threaten him. She simply talked, and she showed him things. On the 3rd day, she showed him footage of human battles. "This is the Battle of Karn 5, she said. The screen displayed a space battle. Human ships, small and old, fighting against Keth warships. Your fleet was outnumbered 4-1. Your weapons were weaker. Your shields were thinner. By all calculations, you should have retreated." Day watched the screen. He remembered this battle. He had lost friends there. "But you did not retreat," Velith continued. "Instead, your ships flew directly into our formation. 3 of your captains rammed their vessels into our warships. They killed themselves to destroy us." She paused the footage on an image of a human ship crashing into a Keth cruiser. Both vessels exploded in a ball of fire. "Why?" Velith asked. "Why would they do this? They gained nothing. They saved no one. They simply died. They slowed your fleet, Day said quietly. They gave the colony ships time to escape. Strangers. They died for strangers they had never met. Yes. Velith stared at him with those purple eyes. This is madness. This is not how intelligent beings behave. Self-preservation is the foundation of all life. Every creature fights to survive. Every creature runs from death. Not humans. Then what are humans? What are you? Day did not answer. On the 5th day, she showed him footage from a human colony. This is the incident at New Busan, she said. The screen showed a burning city. Keth soldiers were moving through the streets. Human civilians were running, screaming, trying to escape. We attacked this colony to test human responses. We wanted to see what you would do when faced with certain defeat. Day's jaw tightened. He had read the reports about New Busan. He knew what had happened there. Watch this section carefully, Velith said. The footage showed a group of human soldiers, maybe 20 of them standing in front of a hospital. Behind them were hundreds of wounded civilians. In front of them were over 200 Keth warriors. They had no chance, Velith said. They knew they would die. They could have run. They could have hidden. Instead, they stood in front of that building and fought until every single one of them was dead. The footage showed the battle. The humans fired their weapons until they ran out of ammunition. Then they fought with knives. Then they fought with their hands. One by one, they fell. But they did not run. Not one of them ran. We killed them all, Velith said. But by the time we finished, rescue ships had arrived. The civilians escaped. Those 20 soldiers saved 400 lives. She turned off the screen and looked at Day. I have watched this footage many times. I have studied the faces of those soldiers. Do you know what I saw? Fear, Day said. Velith's eyes widened slightly. Yes, they were afraid. They were shaking with fear, and yet they did not run. They stood there and died. Oh, she leaned closer. How? How is this possible? Fear exists to make creatures flee from danger. That is its purpose. That is its function. You would not understand, and make me understand. That is why you are here. That is why I have kept you alive. But Day remained silent far below, in the detention block. The rest of the Starfall crew sat in their cells. The Keth had separated them at first, but after a few days, they were moved to a larger holding area. Perhaps the Keth thought that keeping them together would make them easier to control. They were wrong. Una gathered the crew in a corner of the holding area, away from the cameras. She spoke in whispers. The captain is alive, she said. I have heard the guards talking. The Empress is questioning him every day. What does she want? Ask Jisoo, the young medic. She wants to know about us. About humanity. She wants to understand how we think. Old Taiyang shook his head. The captain will not tell her anything. No, he will not. But we cannot wait forever. We need to act. Minho had been studying the walls of their prison for days. He was an engineer. He understood machines. And he understood that every machine had weaknesses. There is a power grid, he said quietly. The energy barriers that keep us in here, the lights, the life support, they all run on the same system. If I can access a control panel, I might be able to cause a failure. Can you do it without being seen? Una asked. Maybe. But even if I do, what then? We cannot fight our way out. We do not have weapons. Una looked at the tired faces of her crewmates. Gisu was barely 20 years old. Taiyang was nearly 60. They were not soldiers. They were engineers and medics and technicians. Normal people who had been caught in a war they never asked for, but they were also human. And humans did not give up. We do not need to escape, Una said. We just need to send a message. If we can reach a communication system, we can send a distress signal. Someone will hear us. Someone will come. And if no one comes? Taiyang asked. Una was quiet for a moment. Then she spoke. Then we buy the captain time. We make noise. We cause problems. We show these creatures that humans do not break easily. They will punish us, Gisu said. Her voice was shaking. They might kill us. They might, put her hand on Jisu's shoulder. I will not lie to you. This is dangerous. We might die. But if we do nothing, the captain faces them alone. He is protecting us by staying silent. The least we can do is protect him back. The crew looked at each other. Fear was in their eyes. But something else was there too. Something stronger than fear. Minho nodded. Tell me what you need me to do, Una smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. Start looking for that control panel and find out where the communication systems are located. That could take days. Then we better start now. And so they began their secret work. During the day, they acted like defeated prisoners. They kept their heads down. They followed orders. They did nothing to attract attention, but at night they whispered and planned. Minho studied the walls and floors, looking for access points. Yuna watched the guards, learning their patterns. Tai Yang, who had served in the military for 30 years, taught the younger crew members how to move quietly and fight with their hands. They did not know if their plan would work. They did not know if help would come. They did not even know if they would survive. But they knew one thing for certain. They were human, and humans never stopped fighting. Above them, in the throne room, Empress Velith sat alone in the darkness. She was thinking about the footage she had shown. Captain Day. She was thinking about those soldiers at Nu. Busan. She was thinking about the fear in their eyes. Fear, such a simple thing. Such a basic emotion. The Keth had removed it from their species thousands of years ago. They had engineered it away, believing it made them weak. And without fear, they had conquered the galaxy. But now, looking at these strange, fragile humans, Velith wondered if they had made a mistake. She would not admit this to anyone. She barely admitted it to herself. But the question was there, growing in the back of her ancient mind. What had the Keth lost when they stopped being afraid? She did not know the answer, but she was beginning to suspect that the human captain did. Tomorrow, she would ask him again. And this time, she would not accept his silence. 2 weeks had passed since the capture of the Starfall. 2 weeks of questions. 2 weeks of silence. Empress Velith was not used to waiting. She had lived for 4,000 years. She had conquered empires in less time than this. She had broken the will of kings and generals with nothing more than patience. But this human was different. Captain Day sat in the same chair he always sat in. His hands were bound. His face was tired, but his eyes were still clear, still calm, still watching her like he was the one asking the questions. It made her angry in a way she had not felt in centuries. I have been kind to you, she said. I have given you food. I have given you rest. I have not harmed you or your crew. But my kindness has limits. Day said nothing. Your silence protects nothing. We will find the answers eventually. We will study your kind. We will take apart your brains and your bodies and your machines. We will learn every secret you have. Still nothing. Velith stood and walked toward him. She moved slowly, each step measured and precise. When she spoke again, her voice was soft. Almost gentle, but that will take time. And your crew does not have time. For the first time, something changed in Day's eyes. A small flicker of emotion. I can order their execution today, Velith continued. One by one. I will start with the young one, the medic. She cries at night. I have heard her. Leave him alone, Day said. His voice was rough. They do not know anything. I do not want them for their knowledge. I want them because you care about them. Velith tilted her head. This is the thing I do not understand. You barely know these people. Some of them joined your crew only months ago. And yet you suffer to protect them. You remain silent to keep them safe. She crouched down so that her face was level with his. Why? What are they to you? Day looked at her for a long moment. The silence stretched between them. Then finally, he laughed. It was not a happy laugh. It was tired and sad and old. But it was real. You really do not understand, he said. After 4,000 years after conquering half the galaxy, you still do not understand the simplest thing about life. Then explain it to me. That is all I ask." Day took a deep breath. He closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them again, something had changed. He was no longer the prisoner. He was the teacher. "You want to know the secret of humanity?" he said. "You think it is a weapon? A technology? A strategy? Something you can steal or copy or learn, is it not? No, it is something much simpler and much more terrible." He leaned forward as far as his chains would allow. "Humans are afraid." Valeth blinked. "What? Every human? Every single one. We are afraid all the time. From the moment we are born to the moment we die, we live with fear inside us. Fear of death. Fear of pain. Fear of loss. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of being alone." He paused to let the words sink in. "We are the most frightened species in the galaxy. Our lives are short, and we know it. We can die from 1,000 different things: disease, accidents, violence, old age. Every day we wake up knowing that this could be our last day. Every time we say goodbye to someone we love, we know we might never see them again." Veleth shook her head slowly. "This explains nothing. If you are so afraid, you should be weak. You should be easy to break. That is what you think? That is what everyone thinks. But they are wrong." Day's eyes burned with something fierce and bright. "Fear does not make us weak. Fear makes us strong. Because we are so afraid of losing the things we love, we will do anything to protect them. We will fight. We will die. We will burn down the stars themselves, if that is what it takes." He pointed at her with his bound hands. "You asked why those soldiers stood in front of that hospital and died. I will tell you. They were afraid. They were shaking with terror. But their fear of dying was nothing compared to their fear of watching those civilians die. Their fear of living with that shame? Their fear of looking in the mirror and knowing they ran when they could have stayed?" Beleth stood up and took a step back. For the first time in centuries, she felt uncertain. "This is not logical," she said. "No, it is not logical. It is human." Day laughed again, but this time there was no sadness in it. Only a strange kind of pride. "You want to know why we fight so hard? Why we survive when we should die? It is because we love. We love so deeply and so completely that we cannot imagine a world without the people we care about. And when you threaten the people we love, you do not scare us. You make us dangerous." He looked her directly in the eyes. "Your kind removed fear thousands of years ago. You thought it was a weakness? You engineered it out of your genes, cut it from your minds. And without fear, you became perfect, logical, immortal. You conquered the galaxy." He shook his head slowly. "But you also lost something. You lost the thing that makes love possible. Because love and fear are not opposites. They are twins. You cannot have one without the other. When you stopped being afraid of losing things, you stopped caring about keeping them."
Oh.
The room was silent. Veleth stood frozen, her purple eyes wide. "That is why you do not understand us," Day continued. "That is why you cannot break us. You look at humans and you see fragile creatures who should die. But we look at ourselves and we see people who have everything to lose. And that makes us fight harder than you can imagine." Veleth turned away. She walked to the window and stared out at the stars. For a long time, she did not speak. When she finally turned back, her face was different. The cold mask was still there, but something else was beneath it. Something she had not felt in a very long time. Doubt. "You are saying that fear is your strength," she said slowly. "I am saying that fear taught us to love, and love taught us to fight, and fighting taught us to survive." Day smiled tiredly. "You removed fear because you thought it was a disease, but it was the cure. It was the only thing that made life worth living." Veleth looked at him for a long moment. Then she raised her hand and the guards came forward, to take him back to his cell, as they led him away. She called out one last time, "Captain." Day stopped and looked back. "If what you say is true, then your species is more dangerous than I thought. A people who fight harder when they are afraid. A people who love so much that they would rather die than lose each other." She paused. I have conquered many worlds, but I have never faced an enemy like that. Day nodded slowly. No, you have not. And then he was gone, and Velith was alone with the stars and the silence and the strange. New feeling growing in her chest. She did not know what it was, but she suspected it might be the beginning of fear. And for the first time in 4,000 years, she was not certain if that was a bad thing. 3 days passed after Day spoke his truth. 3 days of silence from the Empress. No more interrogations. No more questions. Just empty hours in his cold, blue cell. But Day was not worried. He had planted a seed. Now he waited to see if it would grow. In her private chambers, Velith sat alone in the darkness. She had not slept. She had not eaten. She had done nothing but think. The human's words echoed in her mind like a song she could not forget. Fear taught us to love, and love taught us to fight. She walked to her personal archive, a vast room filled with the records of her people. Thousands of years of history stored in crystal and light. She had not visited this place in centuries. There had been no need. The past was finished. Only the future mattered, but now she needed to remember. She called up the oldest files. Records from before the great engineering, when the Keth were still mortal. Still emotional, still afraid, the images appeared before her. Ancient Keth, their faces twisted with expression she barely recognized. They were laughing, crying, holding each other, fighting, loving, living, and were afraid. She watched a recording of a Keth mother protecting her child from a predator. The mother was small and weak. The predator was huge. She should have run. Instead, she stood her ground and screamed and fought until help arrived. She watched a recording of 2 Keth soldiers, wounded and dying, holding hands as the battle raged around them. They were saying something to each other, something soft, something that made them smile even as the light left their eyes. She watched a recording of an ancient Keth artist, weeping as she finished her greatest work, a painting of a sunset that no longer existed. From a world that had been destroyed long ago, Velith felt something strange in her chest, a tightness, a pressure. She did not know what it was. She called up the records of the great engineering, the project that had changed her species forever. It had started 4,000 years ago when the Keth Empire was young. Their scientists had discovered that emotions made them weak. Fear caused hesitation. Grief caused distraction. Love caused attachment to things that would eventually be lost, so they decided to remove them. They rewrote their own genes. They reshaped their own minds. Generation by generation, they became colder, calmer, stronger. They stopped feeling afraid. They stopped feeling sad. They stopped feeling love. And they stopped dying. Without emotional stress, without the weight of feeling, Keth Bodhis could live forever. The Empress herself was proof of this. 4,000 years old, still young, still strong, still perfect. The project was considered the greatest achievement in Keth history. The moment when they transcended their animal nature and became something higher, something better. But now, looking at these old recordings, Velith saw something different. She saw what they had lost. The ancient Keth were messy, chaotic, illogical. But they were also alive in a way that modern Keth were not. They created art. They wrote songs. They held each other in the darkness and whispered words of comfort. Modern Keth did none of these things. They had no need. They felt no fear. They felt no love. They simply existed. It's perfect and eternal and empty. Velith turned off the archive and stood in the darkness. For 4,000 years, she had believed that the great engineering was the right choice. She had never questioned it. Why would she? It had made them powerful. It had made them immortal. It had made them the masters of the galaxy. But the human captain had asked her a question that she could not answer. What was the point of living forever if there was nothing worth living for? Far away, on the edge of Keth territory, a small human ship drifted through space. The Dawn's Edge was a frigate, built for speed rather than strength. Its captain was a woman named Hannah, 32 years old. With short black hair and eyes that had seen too many battles, She was reading reports when the signal came. "Captain," said her communications officer, "we are receiving a transmission. Weak signal, encrypted with coalition codes." Hannah sat up. "Where is it coming from?" "The Velen sector." "Inside Keth territory?" The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what that meant. The Velen sector was deep behind enemy lines. Any ship that went there would not come back. "Play it," Hannah said. The speakers crackled. Then a voice came through, broken and distorted, but still clear enough to understand. "This is Lieutenant Una of the Earth Coalition vessel Starfall. We have been captured by Keth forces. There are 12 of us. Captain Day is being held separately. Please, send help, please." "We are." The message cut off. Hannah stared at the speakers. The Starfall. She knew that ship. She knew Captain Day. They had served together years ago before she got her own command. He had taught her how to lead, how to fight, how to never give up. "Can you trace the signal?" she asked. "Yes, Captain. It is coming from a Keth battle station in the inner Velen sector." "How far?" 18 hours at maximum speed." Hannah closed her eyes. 18 hours to reach a Keth battle station. One frigate against a fortress that could destroy a dozen ships like hers. It was suicide. Everyone on the bridge knew it. "Captain," her first officer said carefully, "we should report this to command. They can send a proper fleet. A rescue operation. How long would that take?" The first officer hesitated. "Weeks, maybe longer." "They do not have weeks." Hannah opened her eyes. "They might not even have days." She looked around the bridge. Her crew was watching her, waiting. She saw fear in their eyes. Real, honest fear. The kind that made hands shake and hearts beat fast. But she also saw something else. Something that only humans had. Hope. "I am not going to order anyone to come with me," she said. "This is not a mission. It is a choice. If you want to stay, I will not blame you. I will not think less of you. This is almost certainly death." She paused. "Oh, those are our people on that station. They are scared and alone and waiting for someone to come for them. And I cannot live with myself if I do nothing." The bridge was silent for a long moment. Then her first officer spoke. "I did not join the coalition to be safe. I joined to help people." Helmsman nodded. "Set a course, Captain. I will get us there." One by one, every member of the bridge crew spoke. They all said the same thing. They were coming. They were all coming. Hannah felt tears in her eyes, but she did not let them fall. "Not yet." "There would be time for tears later. Set course for the Velen sector," she said. "Maximum speed. And send a message to the captured crew. Let them know we are coming." "What should the message say, Captain?" Hannah thought for a moment. Then she smiled. "Tell them, hold on. We are on our way. Every single one of us." The Dawn's Edge turned and began its journey into enemy territory. Behind it, the stars burned cold and silent. Ahead, an impossible battle waited. But impossible had never stopped humans before, and it would not stop them now. The message reached them in the middle of the night. Una was awake, as she always was. Sleep did not come easily in Keth's prisons. She was sitting against the cold wall, watching the guards patrol outside their cell. When the tiny communicator Minho had built crackled to life, the voice was faint, but she heard every word. "Hold on. We are on our way. Every single one of us. Why?" Una covered her mouth with her hand. Tears rolled down her cheeks. They were coming. Someone was actually coming. She woke the others quietly. One by one, she told them the news. She watched their faces change. Fear became hope. Despair became determination. "When?" Minho asked. "Soon," the message said. They would arrive within hours. "Then we need to act now." Minho had spent 2 weeks studying the station. He knew where the power junctions were. He knew where the communication arrays were. He knew the patrol patterns of every guard. Una nodded. "Can you do it?" "I can cause a blackout. 30 seconds, maybe a minute. It will create chaos. That is all we need." She gathered the crew around her. 12 tired, scared, ordinary humans. Engineers, medics, technicians. People who had never asked to be heroes, but today they would be. "Listen to me," she said. "Help is coming, but they need time. They need the station distracted. We are going to give them that distraction." "How?" asked Jisoo, the young medic. Her voice was steadier now. Something had changed in her over these weeks. Fear had become courage. "Minho will kill the power. When the lights go out, we move. We take down as many guards as we can. We make noise. We cause problems. We show these creatures what humans are made of." Old Taeyang cracked his knuckles. "I have been waiting for this. Some of us might not make it," Yuna said honestly. "This is dangerous." "I will not lie to you," "We know," said a young engineer named Yunho. "We are still here." Yuna looked at her crew. Her family. These people had trusted her for weeks. They had followed her into the darkness without complaint. And now they were ready to follow her into battle. She had never been more proud. "Then let us begin." Above them. On the command deck, Empress Velith received a report. "A human ship has entered the sector," her admiral said. "A single frigate. Small, weak. It is heading directly for us." Velith looked at the tactical display. One tiny dot moving toward her massive station. It was like watching an insect fly toward a mountain. "Destroy it," the admiral said. "It is no threat." But Velith raised her hand. "Wait." She watched the dot move closer. One ship, one crew. Coming to rescue prisoners they had probably never met. "Open a channel," she said. "I want to hear them." Speakers crackled. And then a voice filled the command deck. A human voice, strong and clear. "This is Captain Hannah of the Earth Coalition frigate Dawn's Edge. We are coming for our people. All of them. Every single one. You can destroy us, but you cannot stop us. Because for every ship you kill, 10 more will come. 100 more. 1,000 more. That is what we do. That is who we are." The channel went silent. Velith stared at the tactical display. The Dawn's Edge was still coming. It had not slowed down. It had not changed course. It was flying straight toward the most powerful weapons in the sector. "Shall I give the order to fire?" the admiral asked. Velith did not answer. She was remembering the human captain's words. "Fear taught us to love, and love taught us to fight." At that moment, the lights went out. The station plunged into darkness. Alarms screamed. Emergency systems flickered and failed. And in the detention block, 12 humans attacked. Yuna led the charge. She hit the first guard before he knew what was happening. Taeyang took down 2 more with moves he had learned 50 years ago. Minho ran for the control panel, his fingers flying over buttons he had memorized in the dark. The Keth guards were strong. They were fast. But they were not ready for this. They did not expect prisoners to fight. They did not expect humans to attack when escape was impossible. A plasma bolt hit Yuna in the shoulder. The pain was terrible, burning through her body like fire. But she did not stop. She kept moving. She kept fighting. She had promised the captain she would protect the crew, and she would keep that promise, even if it killed her. "Go." She screamed. "Get to the shuttle bay." The crew ran. Jisoo helped a wounded crewmate. Junho covered their escape with a stolen weapon. Taeyang stayed behind to hold the corridor, fighting 3 guards at once with nothing but his fists. Outside, Dawn's Edge began its attack. Hannah knew she could not win. Her weapons were too weak. Her shields were too thin. But she did not need to win. She just needed to distract them long enough for the prisoners to escape. "Target their sensor arrays," she ordered. "Blind them. Make them look at us instead of the detention block." The frigate opened fire. Small weapons against massive armor. It was like throwing stones at a castle. But the stones kept coming. Again and again and again. Velith watched from the command deck. Her officers were shouting orders. Her ships were moving to intercept. Everything was chaos. But she did not give the order to destroy the frigate. She just watched. She watched the human ship take hit after hit. She watched its shields fail and its hull breach. She watched the crew keep fighting even as their vessel burned around them, and she saw something she had not seen in 4,000 years. She saw tears on the faces of the human crew. They were crying. They were afraid. But they were not stopping. They were calling out the names of people they loved. They were shouting words of encouragement to each other. They were dying, and they were not alone. For the first time in her long, empty life, Velith understood. This was what the humans had. This was their secret weapon. Not technology. Not strategy. Just the simple, terrible, beautiful truth that they would rather die together than live alone. "Admiral," she said quietly. "Yes, Empress. Order all forces to stand down." The Admiral stared at her. "Empress, you heard me? Stand down. Let the humans go." But now, the Keth weapons fell silent. The pursuing ships stopped. And in the chaos of the detention block, the human prisoners reached the shuttle bay. They found a transport waiting. Yuna stumbled aboard, blood running down her arm, Jisoo right behind her. One by one, the crew made it. 11 of them. All alive. All free. "Where is the captain?" Minho asked. The answer came from behind them. Day walked out of the shadows, escorted by 2 Keth guards. But he was not bound. He was not a prisoner. He was being released. "Captain?" Yuna tried to run to him, but the pain in her shoulder made her stumble. Day caught her. "Easy, Lieutenant, easy. It is over. Over." She looked at the Keth guards. They made no move to stop them. "I do not understand. Neither do I." Day looked back at the station. "But I think the Empress does." They boarded the shuttle and flew away. The Dawn's Edge was waiting for them, battered and broken, but still alive. Captain Hannah was there to greet them, tears streaming down her face. "You came," Day said. "You actually came. Of course we came." Hannah embraced him. "We are human. It is what we do." The 2 ships limped home together, leaving the Keth station behind. Yuna's wound was treated. The crew was safe. Against all odds, they had survived. But the story was not quite over. 3 months later, a lone Keth vessel appeared at the edge of human space. It carried no weapons. It made no threats. It simply drifted there, broadcasting a single message on all frequencies. The Empress wishes to speak. She wishes to learn. She wishes to feel. The message was received by Earth's Coalition Command. There was debate. There was suspicion. There was fear. But there was also hope. Captain Day was called to give his opinion. He stood before the council and told them what he had learned during his time with the Empress. He told them about her questions. He told them about her doubt. He told them about the look in her eyes when she finally understood. "She is not our enemy," he said. "Not anymore. She is something more dangerous and more important." "What is that?" the council asked. Day smiled. It was a tired smile, but it was real. "She is curious. And curiosity is the first step toward change." The council made their decision. They would meet with the Empress. They would talk. They would try to understand each other. It would not be easy. There were 4,000 years of history between their species. There was blood and death and war. Trust would take time, but time was something both species had, and maybe, just maybe, that was enough. Far away on her ship at the edge of human space, Empress Velith looked at the stars and waited. For the first time in 4,000 years, she felt something inside her chest. A small feeling. A strange feeling. It might have been hope. Or it might have been fear. Or perhaps she was beginning to learn. They were the same thing.